To combat the economic distress due to the countrywide lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic now extended till May 3rd, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced 1.7 lakh crore relief package on the 26th of March. She stated that it is mainly aimed to aid the poorest of the poor who need economic help during this period. This is a welcome step given the economic distress the lockdown has caused to the workers across the country, especially in the unorganized sector. The pictures and videos of migrant workers rushing to their homes once the lockdown was announced are testament to this fact. A big section of India's workforce, India's 1.6 crore fishers, fish vendors, and fish workers are right in the middle of this storm. Barring those falling under the below poverty line who will get some relief, a big section of this community has been left to fend for themselves. Why is this the case? Who has been hit the hardest among them? And what steps have been taken to mitigate the disaster for India's fish workers fishing in India's seas, lakes, and rivers? Let's try and find out. Before we get into the specific problems the fish workers in India are facing, let us try and understand how the fishing industry works. To put it more simply, how does a fish caught in the sea end up on your plate? Fishing is a big industry which operates in the territorial waters and EEZ along India's vast 7,500 km long coastline. It also operates inland in rivers and lakes. Typically, small scale fishers mostly fish for their families and local markets. On the other hand, large-scale fishing involves storage of the catch, as a part of the catch must be transported elsewhere or exported. These storage facilities rely on ice factories to provide ice for storage. To avoid rotting of the catch, then the catch is transported to markets where it is sold. It is important to remember that this process doesn't continue non-stop throughout the year. On an annual basis, on the western coast, a 2-month fishing ban comes into effect from the 1st of June. On the eastern coast, this ban comes into effect from 15th of April. The ban operates to avoid any disturbance to marine life during the breeding season, and to avoid overfishing and to ensure safety at sea from the rough monsoon winds of the Indian Ocean. For both of these regions, March to April is the peak season for fishing. The ban leaves the industry's many workers idle during this period. Who are they though? In addition to the native fisherfolk, the industry employs a huge number of migrant workers. These workers hail not only from India's 9 coastal states but also from as far as the landlocked states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. When it comes to sellers, almost half of the sellers in the market where you and I go buy fish from are women. Given that the fishing industry is generally an unorganized sector, its workers usually work without contracts. They are essentially daily wage laborers who are dependent on regular fishing for survival. Now, fisheries is a state subject, which puts the onus of maintaining and operating this industry in the hands of the respective state governments. How has the industry been affected by COVID and later looked after by the states during the period of lockdown? According to a news report published by the Hindustan Times on the 30th of March, approximately 10,000 tons of fresh fish catch was dumped back into the sea in Maharashtra alone in the first week of the lockdown. This happened because some types of fishing trips last for multiple days, sometimes 2-3 weeks or even longer. And in this case, the fishers who had gone out to sea before the announcement of the lockdown came back to find that everything had been shut down. There was no place to store the fish and no way to transport the fish from the coastal areas to the mainland for selling. This happened despite the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs on the 24th March stating that the sale of meat and fish came under essential services and were exempted from the lockdown. Besides this, Minister of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries, Giriraj Singh in a latest statement had also cleared doubts regarding the consumption of fish, deeming it to be safe as per a report by the World Animal Health Organization. Despite these clarifications, states like Goa and Tamil Nadu banned fishing altogether during the lockdown. Along with that, the sudden lockdown left more than 1 lakh fish workers forcibly stranded at sea in their boats as they could not return to land. On the 24th of March, the Central Department of Fisheries had requested all state secretaries to issue directions to all law enforcing authorities to allow the movement of fish and fish products. It also acknowledged the plight of thousands of migrant workers who are stuck on fishing vessels unable to return to their villages due to the lockdown in a letter dated March 28th. Although some have returned, there is still a large number of people spending their lockdown stuck on a boat or in temporary shelters along both our coasts. In the beginning, I told you how a big section of these workers will be left out of the 1.7 lakh crore relief package. Why? Because India's fishers do not fall under the PM Kisan Yojana scheme and hence are not eligible for the 2000 rupees cash transfer that the government will provide to farmers.
We talked to some fishermen stuck off of Gujarat's coast, and this is what they have to say. మంచినీళ్ళు ఒక క్యాన్ ఇస్తే దాన్ని 2-3 రోజులు సర్దుకోమంటున్నారు. ఒక బోట్లో 6-7 సభ్యులు ఉంటారు. ఈ క్యాన్ నీళ్ళు ఎలా మేము సర్దుకుంటామనేసి మేము ఈ గవర్నమెంట్కి, ఈ గుజరాత్ గవర్నమెంట్కి అడుగుతున్నాము. అయినప్పటికీ కూడా వాళ్ళు పట్టించుకోవట్లేదు.
This is the state of affairs. Even though in February of 2020, the Department of Fisheries had written to the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare to include the fish workers in the PM Kisan scheme. Yet, there has been no confirmation of approving the same, leaving the entire fishing community in distress. Clearly, the lockdown is not the only problem the community is facing. The boat owners have been facing other problems too. For instance, in Maharashtra, fishers are eligible for fuel subsidies to carry out fishing activities. But for the past 4-5 years, the state government hasn't paid them, amounting to a whopping 187 crores worth of unpaid dues. Though there has been an announcement of releasing 78 crores in February this year, the money has yet to reach the beneficiaries. All these factors combined make the economic pinch of the lockdown even worse. To offer assistance, the Union Ministry has issued directions regarding the non-termination of contracts and the provision of food and wages, but that is detrimental to the boat owners. It puts the welfare burden on those already hit and further complicates the situation. The ministry has also requested the details of fish workers for the direct transfer of benefits via Aadhaar-linked bank accounts. But the truth is, not all of them have Aadhaar cards or bank accounts. Also, this is not just a matter of money to tide over a lockdown of 30 days. That's not to say the community has taken this lying down. For example, soon after the lockdown, the National Fish Workers Forum, a federation of state-level fisher unions, wrote a letter to Pratap Chandra Sarangi, Minister of State in the Union Ministry of Fisheries, requesting that the government intervene and help the stranded fishermen and women and account for the loss borne by the community at large. In the same letter by the NFF, they demanded a monthly allowance of 15,000 rupees for 3 months to be provided to each fishing household in advance. They also requested proper safety gear such as masks and testing equipment to be made available to India's fishing communities along with a proper supply of rations during the lockdown. How can states proceed? A recent open letter to the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying by a group of concerned marine activists, researchers, and civil society organizations noted the relief work undertaken by the Andhra Pradesh government. The state government successfully transported 1,400 fish workers from Karnataka safely back home to Andhra Pradesh, after which they were quarantined. This model, good nonetheless, must be implemented on a larger scale and by more states to make it more effective and useful. In cases where transport may not be possible, the least the states can do is to ensure that the stranded as well as native fish workers have access to adequate food and rations, clean accommodation, and health and sanitation facilities. Many organizations and non-profits have also stepped in to alleviate this distress. The Dakshin Foundation, a marine conservation non-profit organization, has been working tirelessly in tandem with the district authorities and civil society networks to gather information on stranded fish workers and provide them and their families with necessities to survive the lockdown. Dakshin has started a crowdfunding campaign to support the fishing community by providing them kits containing rations and health supplies. You can support Dakshin and its partner by donating. The link to the crowdfunding campaign website is given in the description box below. Help them support the most vulnerable of India's fishers in these troubling times. What do you think the government could have done better to support daily wage laborers and migrant workers during the period of lockdown? Tell us in the comment section below. You can follow us for more such stories on our social media handles and our website. The links are given in the description down below. Stay safe, stay home, see you next time.